Well, for this week's prediction of SANFL Inclusive League, we are in round 3 of the 2026 season. First game we are predicting in this round, Athelston versus Kenilworth at Max Amber Sports Field. Athelston, they nearly lost at the death against Christie's Beach. But Declan Hanley, he's been the saviour for Athelston with 30 seconds to go. Won the game for Athelston of his own boat. He'll be hoping for a great big game this week against Kenilworth. As for Kenilworth, they just come off a 78-point win over Tea Tree Gully last week at Petraringa rival. Same team to beat Athelston by 34 points last week. Before that, for the game, Athelston versus Kenilworth, I'm hoping Athelston will get the job done by a point, but I'm not feeling confident about this one. I've got a feeling, sadly, I reckon Kenilworth is probably Kenilworth by 14 points. I'm with the commentator's hat on, but with the team spirit hat on, I'm going Athelston by 2 points. Goodwood versus Broadview at Goodwood Oval. This is the second Saints away trip Broadview will be versing. 2 weeks ago, they beat Christie's by 23 points. Last week, they got a bit overconfident last week against Salisbury. Lost by 21 points. As for Goodwood, they got way too overconfident last week against Kilburn. And they got belted by 91 points. One of them's going to bounce back surely. I reckon Goodwood Saints. I've got a feeling it'll be Goodwood by 50 points. I reckon they'll probably need to respond hugely after a disappointing game against Kilburn. Speaking of Kilburn, they're going to Bice Oval this week to verse Christie's. Christie's nearly got the job done against Athelston last week at home at Max here in this ground. Kilburn, they just come off a 91-point win over Goodwood. Although I would love to see Christie's win this week, but sadly, I reckon Kilburn will probably get the job done by about 95 points. Last game of the round, Tea Tree Gully versus Salisbury at Petraringa Oval. Salisbury have just come off a 21-point win over Broadview. Tea Tree Gully came off of getting belted by Kenilworth by 78 points last week. Well, this is their third straight home game. I've got a feeling, I reckon Tea Tree Gully might get the job done this week by about 35 points. And we'll check back for our predictions next week for round 4. Well, we are here for the round 10 episode of Lachie Does Footy. We are not just here for Watch the Crows open training session. We are here to also recruit potential Chargab ambassadors to see if they are interested in becoming the ambassadors for Chargab in the future. We are a really good group for people living with a disability. We always do the right thing. We help out our clients. We'll be here to see if any Adelaide Crows players are interested in becoming ambassadors for Chargab. For Chargab. Well, we are here inside the inner sanctum at Adelaide Oval for John Cale and Andrew McLeod rooms. Honestly, this is the first time I've been in his rooms. Well, I think this is the Port Adelaide rooms. We'll have to, I can see, could book an Adelaide Oval tour one day for Chargab. We were supposed to do one in November last year, but we had the bowl 3 games. This year is Walking past, this is the Crows' inner sanctum. Looks killer. Got all the player history. Anyways, from last week, Brisbane versus from today, Brisbane versus last night, Brisbane and Geelong at the Gabba. Well, I had predicted the Cats to win by 42 points. And I think the Cats got up by about... Cats, however, got up by 41 points. I was 1 point off. Anyways, I'll do the rest of the predictions very soon. Well, here are the rest of the round 10 predictions on Lachie Does Footy. Sydney versus Collingwood at SCG. I'm going Sydney by 27 points. Gold Coast versus Port Adelaide at TIO Stadium in Darwin. I reckon the Suns by 44. Crows versus North Melbourne at Adelaide Oval. If I'm hoping the Crows win, but with no Phil Thorpe, and with North Melbourne having a few tools in defence, and I nearly beat Sydney last week. Well, I'm not confident in this one. I think I might call an upset. I reckon the Kangaroos might actually win their first game in Adelaide since round 9 2000. I'm probably going by 1 point in an upset. Melbourne versus Hawthorn at the MCG. I reckon Melbourne might win an upset in this one. I'm going the Demons by 6 points in a tight one. Carlton versus Western Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium. Beware the team who have just sacked the coach. Carlton have just got rid of Michael Voss as their coach. Josh Fraser will take over interim duties for the rest of the season. Will he do enough to get the gig full time? He was a pretty good VFL coach at Collingwood. And he coached the Gold Coast reserves team for a few years. And he did play against Michael Voss's Lions in the Q Clash all those years ago. Well, I got a feeling in the tradition of, in the theory of sack the coach, win the game, I got a feeling I reckon Carlton might actually hold on. I reckon the Blues by 21 points. It's the first time I picked the Blues in a while. Essendon and Fremantle at the MCG. Obvious, Freo by 60 points. Saints versus Richmond at Marvel Stadium. Will St Kilda finally get their first win as Euro-Roke? Will Euro-Roke break the drought and win their first ever game? Or will Richmond leave them winless? I reckon the drought will end for Euro-Roke. I'm going for them by 60 points, as Richmond have got so many injuries. West Coast and GWS at Optus Stadium. GWS by 38 points.